702.
And there are 2 counselors absent and 1 seat vacant. We do have a quorum.
Okay. We'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Special orders.
We have a proclamation in recognition of Emmanuel Baptist Church celebrating a century of service.
Vice President Leavy.
Good evening, City Council members. At this time, I would like to call the pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church down to the podium, Pastor Kevin Pullum, if he would join me at this time. City of Beloit, Wisconsin, official proclamation. Whereas the Second Emmanuel Baptist Church was established on April 15, 1917, by a group of 14 residents who wished to fulfill the spiritual needs of African American workers migrating from the South. And whereas the Emmanuel Baptist Church was officially recognized and chartered by the Rock County Registrar on July 12, 1917, with the formal incorporation papers filed on June 3, 1927, and whereas after meeting in various locations in downtown Beloit, the present church lot was purchased in 1924 and a concrete structure was completed in 1927 at a cost of $5,500. And whereas that edifice was destroyed by fire in 1958 but was rebuilt and completed in 1960, with several additions made over the years, resulting in the Educational Center, Family Life Center, and new administrative offices. And whereas over the last 100 years, Emmanuel Baptist Church has been blessed by the leadership and vision of 15 God-driven and dedicated ministers who have each enriched the church family. And whereas in addition to its long history of providing worship and educational programs for its members, Emmanuel Baptist Church has maintained an active outreach program in the community, including a Good Samaritan's Closet, a food pantry, and the still functioning free hot lunch program. Following their mission to be in tune with God and in touch with men. And whereas in 2017, Emmanuel Baptist Church celebrates a century of service, continuing to uphold the values and traditions of its founders while moving forward with the times and making a positive difference in the greater Beloit community. Now therefore be it proclaimed that in recognition of 100 years of commitment and generous service to the Beloit community, growing in faith and spirituality, the City of Beloit does hereby honor and congratulate Emmanuel Baptist Church on their centennial celebration and extends best wishes on continuing their ministry far into the future, presented this 6th day of March 2017, David F. Lukey, City Council President.
Thank you.
It was nice, Kevin.
It is an honor and humbling moment for me to be a part of this history as I've been here just short of 6 years. And I want to say thank you to the City of Beloit, to the City Council, to the City Manager, and all of those in city legislation for sharing with us a collective effort, a community, and a camaraderie down through these years. We are connected with this city. The congregation that is at Emmanuel are in all walks, in all areas of the community, and we believe that we've served together to help to forge a mosaic here in this community that is subpar and bar none. And I'm just grateful to be a part of it. Thank you for recognizing that beautiful church. We hope to be of service to the community for hundreds of years more. I'm sure when those Southern settlers came from the South looking for the American dream, when they started this church in April of 1917, I'm pretty sure that though they had big hopes and dreams and vision for what the mission of Emmanuel would be, I don't know if they thought 100 years later that we'd still be here at this auspicious moment. So thank you. God bless to each and every one of you, and I pray that we will continue to have, again, a fellowship that continues to flourish for the years to come.
Thank you, Reverend. Public hearings?
We have a resolution approving a conditional use permit to allow an outdoor seating area in a C3 community commercial district for the property located at 605 Eclipse Boulevard.
Ms. Christensen.
This proposed outdoor seating area is related to the Blender Cafe project, which involves the renovation of the children's programming room into a restaurant. They're proposing the renovation of the children's garden into a patio area with stamped concrete tables and chairs. The existing fence around the outdoor children's garden area will be extended to the south along the sidewalk, and a gate will be constructed to serve as a secondary path in and out of that cafe. They requested authorization of up to 8 tables and 32 chairs in the outdoor patio area. In your staff report are some photographs which show the seating wall to be retained, where the pavers will be concrete, shows where the fence extension is and the doors to and from the cafe. There's also a site plan included in the packet. This was reviewed by Plan Commission on February 22nd, 2017, and they voted unanimously to recommend approval, subject to the six conditions which are included in your resolution, which are that this conditional use permit authorizes the renovation of the outdoor children's garden area into a patio area for the Blender Cafe customers with stamped concrete, up to 8 tables and up to 32 chairs, that the existing foundation, landscaping, and seating wall shall not be altered during this project. If extended along the sidewalk, the new sections of fence shall be identical to the existing fence around the garden area in style, color, and height. Alcoholic beverages may not be sold, possessed, or consumed within the outdoor seating area. The outdoor seating area shall include the marked exits, including clear 36-inch exit pathways and gates with operable hardware. The fire inspector and building official will inspect the completed outdoor seating area and establish a maximum occupancy, which shall be posted inside the building and within the outdoor seating area. That's our standard condition for all outdoor seating areas. And then that any major changes will come back through this public process, and minor changes may be approved administratively. And I don't know if Nick is here somewhere in the crowd, but Nick had indicated at Plan Commission that the Hendricks family, who had the children's garden, was supportive of this request for an outdoor seating area.
Thank you. First call for comments on this proposal, on this resolution. Second call. Third and final call for comments on this resolution. That will close the comment section. Is there a motion?
Move approval.
Moved by Leavy, seconded by Duncan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. 4-0. Okay, public comments. We have reached that point in the meeting for members of the public to speak to the council about issues that are coming before us or have come before us, will come before us in the future. The council will not act on any requests this evening unless the item you are speaking about is already on our agenda. But we may act on requests at future meetings, or we may refer a speaker to staff for assistance. We ask that you hold your comments to 3 minutes and avoid making personal attacks. Okay, I've got several sheets here, but I'm going to do something rare that hasn't been done too often by the president. I'm going to make some comments before, because I anticipate some of the comments based on emails and phone calls I've gotten and the TV and radio stations that have called me. First and foremost, we as a council have utmost respect for our military, for our veterans. It goes without question. And I think back to my own father, who commanded a ship during World War II in the Pacific, and how years later in the 50s, as a little kid, I watched him lead the Beloit Memorial Parade. And afterwards at Horace White Park, they had a 21-gun salute. And the numerous funerals I've been at and witnessed the salute, it's a dignified honor and tradition that we should never let go of. And with that, I want to say nothing has changed with our ordinance. We allow the 21-gun salute at our cemeteries. If somebody wishes another location, as the ordinance says, we need to check with our police chief, and he or she will determine the safety and public welfare. In today's age, if we have gunshots going off at locations other than cemeteries, we don't want cars crashing or people panicking or whatever. That's why we're asking our funeral homes to check with our police chief beforehand. so that proper precautions can be made. So I wanted to preface that. I also want to read what our city manager has put on our Facebook page. It's much of what I said, but this post is intended to correct some of the misinformation circulating about how veterans are honored here in Beloit. The city strongly supports our veterans, and full ceremonial honors, including a 21-gun salute, are always welcome in our city cemeteries. There is an ordinance that requires approval and coordination with the police department for other locations to ensure public safety issues like traffic safety and notifications of residents are managed. If a requested location is problematic, alternative locations are always recommended. There have been no prohibitions. The council is not voting on any items related to this issue at tonight's meeting. The chief is meeting with local funeral home directors and the VFW post leader to discuss ways to continue honoring our veterans while meeting public safety needs. And I think the chief is meeting tomorrow with the funeral home directors and the VFW director. So with that, I just wanted to preface that first. Now, we've got a number of people who would like to speak. The first one, if you'd give your name and your address when you come to the podium, please. Daryl Adams.
Yes, my name is Daryl Adams. I've been here a couple of times before. I had a long conversation with Greg Boyce the other day, Public Works Director, rather. And I have an issue on my property where they have built all these buildings behind me. And what they have done is they've transferred the water over to my property. I've got trees that have already fallen over, a few that have died. One that I've noticed is starting to tilt. It's a rather tall one. And he made it very plain to me that the only real remedy to this is to accept a special assessment, which will be put onto my house, and I'll have to pay for my house really what amounts to a third time, not to mention the sewer assessment years ago. And I want to know what the city of Beloit is going to do with this, or am I going to have to take this to state authority or the Environmental Protection Agency? The mosquitoes in the summertime are unbearable back there. There are times I cannot mow the grass. I've done everything I can do to deal with it, and I'm on disability right now. I do not have the money for this. But I'm going to have to do something, because I've got mold in my basement. I've got trees that are falling over. I've got a ground that's wet even when it don't rain over a period of time in the summertime. And last fall, when I mowed it the last time for the season, I could smell stagnant water. It's an obvious health hazard, and it was not caused by any of my doing whatsoever. When they put these buildings in, they did not put the water drainage in right where it drains from the back of the property. Now, I know I'm right. I've lived in this house for more than, 29 years. And it had drainage from the town of Beloit before it was annexed in. He doesn't believe me. He says I can't prove it. Well, I told him to prove me wrong. I want to know what is going to happen here. I need a solution. And all I'm asking for is a solution to get this water off this property. That's what I'm asking for.
Mr. Adams, I'll have one of our city officials get in contact with you. I've got your phone number here and your address.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir. The next individual, Ellen Page. Ellen Page. And Ellen, you gave us a handout too, didn't you, Ellen? I did. Thank you. It's right here.
Ellen Page, 1798 Post Road.
Could you speak in the, thank you.
Ellen Page, 1798 Post Road. Last meeting, I came before you to talk about the Cadillac Drive condominium development in our area. And I wanted to again speak on behalf of all homeowners within my neighborhood in regards to the increase of more rentals. I've given you an overview of our neighborhood, which is on the first page. As noted, the blue is single-family homeowners. The pink is rental units. Right now we are, if I did everything correctly, 137 homeowners versus 291 rentals. And that would be a percentage of about 68.4 rentals in the area. If the new development goes through as presented, it would be 137 homeowners versus 333 rentals, which is 71% rentals in our area. In regards to our last meeting, it was obvious that most all city council were not aware that the proposed development put before you as condos was actually intended as rentals. From what I saw, I feel that you were deceived by the developer. The speaker for the developer himself confirmed there was no intention of condos happening, but to get the approval, it was presented as condos. It just goes to prove that they will do anything to get any approval for this development at any cost. I would also like to just quickly address a comment made in our last meeting by one of the members. With all due respect, I found it very disheartening to hear you say extending Cadillac to Elaine would be more controversial and very upsetting for the people in that area. I personally took this pretty hard, as it sounded very much like the people dealing with the actual traffic issue now aren't being considered. The representative for the development had stated in the last meeting, and I quote him, "They would love to extend Cadillac to Elmwood. No problem with that." So I had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Myers, who owns the 17 acres between the condo development and Elmwood. I asked him if anybody from the Beloit Planning Commission had contacted him in the last 2 weeks. He said no. We had many conversations, and I have to admit, I was somewhat confused. But what he did state many times to me is he has no problem with the Cadillac Drive extension to Elmwood. So I would ask that possibly the Planning Commission could start up conversations with him again, because if he's willing to have it come in and go all the way to Elmwood, and the developer is willing to put the road in, that would make everybody happy. So I would just ask if you would speak to Mr. Myers and please reconfirm everything I said, as I don't want to misspeak on his behalf. Then just a few things in closing. If we went back to the Ravenwood apartments that were built, if they wouldn't have been built, I would have much rather had seen single family with Cadillac Drive extending to Elmwood. Unfortunately, we can't reverse our time. But a reminder that when Havenwood was built, it was not supposed to accept Section 8, but because they couldn't fill to capacity, they do accept Section 8. And I'm feeling like if you can't fill the rental property that already exists, what's going to happen when we have 42 more units put in this area? So if this proposed development can't be stopped, can you at least put a hold on the development until Cadillac Drive is extended? And that's our main concern. Please talk with Mr. Myers, as I truly feel he wants to help our community as much as he can. I feel our neighborhood deserves at least this much. He's a very nice man, and he's celebrating his 95th birthday. So I thank you for listening to me. Please consider my thoughts and concerns when you make your decision.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
The next individual, Philip Pickett.
Good evening. As some of you know, I've been a long time opponent of speculation at homeowners' expense. And it looks like we're right on the edge of that, particularly when I hear that someone comes and asks for approval for condominiums and then they just want to put in more rentals. It's kind of another way of saying we want fancy apartments, in my opinion. Nevertheless, if you have not surveyed that property and looked at the situation in that area from a traffic perspective, I would respectfully request that you do so before you vote on this topic in regard to Cadillac Drive and the extension thereof. Adding more units, whether they're single family, whether they're condos, whether they're rentals, is going to increase the traffic pressure on Hart Road, and in addition, on Post Road, which runs right through a residential neighborhood. Those are the only two outlets. If Cadillac were extended to Elmwood, that would relieve a lot of that pressure, I'm sure. And it would enhance the safety of the community. And it would make things a whole lot easier for people like my wife who like to take our dog for a walk down Hart Road. And you sure don't like to be walking along there when you got people speeding out to get onto Prairie Avenue. Nor do you want to see them speed down Post, which they do, in order to get out on the prairie. So as you deliberate, please take into consideration two issues. One, what equity is there in allowing a speculator to gain at the expense of homeowners, particularly when it appears there might be some, I hate to use the term, but for lack of a better term, some alleged misrepresentation, let's put it that way. And secondly, to take into consideration the traffic safety issues. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
We are going to discuss this later in the meeting.
Thank you.
Mr. Pickett. Again, I didn't mention, but you could keep your comments to 3 minutes or less in the future for everybody, and I should have mentioned that at the beginning. Okay, Prisha Gustina. That wasn't meant for you, Mr. Pickett. Go ahead.
I'm Prisha Gustina. I live at 1313 11th Street. And I'm here in behalf of the support of the 21 gun salute. My father was a veteran. He passed away just a year ago. And what the veterans did at that service was incredible. It meant so much to my mother and to myself and my family and those that were there. The thing is I'm just very saddened by this even being an issue in the city of Beloit. I didn't know of an ordinance, but I truly believe that ordinance was not meant for the 21 gun salute, because it has been going on in our community forever, okay? And it's very sad for me to feel that 21 gun salute would somehow cause harm or concern, whether traffic or in a school, then something's wrong in our community if we're so afraid of gunshots being shot around the city. Now, if anything, I think that the community, if they don't know about the 21 gun salute, they need to be educated. And if the schools don't know about it, or the children don't know about it, then they need to know about what's going on for what the VA, the VFW is doing for our veterans that pass away. So I just feel that it's wrong to take it out of the place where the family chooses to have their service. For one thing, I did not bury my parents did not get buried in a cemetery here in Beloit, okay? So I wouldn't have been able to have it if you require it to be in a cemetery. That wouldn't have happened for my father. So that needs to be looked at. And we live by Second Con Church. They've been doing the 21 salute. I mean, we lived there and we would hear it go off. We knew what it was. So I'm just strongly in support. I can't even, really, I'm almost speechless about this because I'm so upset about it. And there's a lot of people that are not here tonight that are upset. Okay, so I know some of, our city manager and our chief of police are not from our community here. We have grown up here. My father grew up here, went to school here. I've, grown up here. My children are all here. My grandchildren are here. This support for our veterans when they're passing is very, very heartfelt here. It means a lot, a lot. And to ask us to go to another place is very hard on people that are already having to suffer from the loss of a loved one. So that's not okay either. It's just not, okay? So that's my thoughts. Thank you very much.
Bill Thorson.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak a couple minutes here. My name is Bill Thorson. I served in the Marine Corps from 75 to 82. Born and raised in Beloit, as well as my wife. She works for this Beloit Police Department for 31 years. And we just wanted to say that I've been on 4 vets road trips and a couple as a bus leader. And a lot of these veterans have spoken to me about how they look forward to full military honors when they die. It's hard for them. It's hard for me to speak about it sometimes. And the peace of our neighborhoods are provided by those who sacrifice their lives. And, you know, we got the snappers fireworks going off all summer long. They rock our house. This is at nighttime, not during the daytime. There's no warning. Nobody calls and says, hey, we're about ready to rock your house. It just happens. There's no accidents. There's nobody swerving, at least that I've read about. I've never heard of an accident caused by a 21 gun salute. So I just think, is entertainment more important than our veterans? I don't see any logic in that. They're cap rifles. There's no rounds. I understand. I agree with her, though. We shouldn't live in a community where we have to be worried about gunshots. Never have been, and I'm not now. You gave us a good welcome back when we came back to the veterans. We appreciate that. Let's not slap them in the face and do this. I'm proud of Beloit. I don't want somebody from Madison to say, hey, you live in that town where they don't honor veterans. And that's what it seems like. Beloit always gets a black eye. Don't give us a black eye on this one. Like I said, I talked with my fellow employee this morning. She said, every time I hear a 21 gun salute, I pause and reflect. And I think a lot of people do, of veterans being laid to rest. So we always said, leave no man behind. Don't leave anybody behind on this one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill. Jerry Murphy.
Jerry Murphy, 2355 Cranston Road. I'm the owner of Daily Murphy Wish Funeral Home, and I'm also a veteran. And so I'm talking in two different hats, I guess I'm wearing tonight. But first of all, I want to give you some statistics. You know, 30 years ago, cremation was not an issue. Very seldom did we have cremations. Today, in the city of Beloit, it's 63%. It is going to go up to 85%. There's no ifs and buts about that. That's where the trend is going. It's going to happen. Just to give you some numbers, last year, 60 veterans died. Out of those 60 services, 23 were held in cemeteries. 13 were held at the funeral home, where there was no burial. 4 churches the military honors were held at. And then there were 20 services that, and some of those where they had no services, but I know for a fact that sometimes the family contacted the VFW on their own. So as you can see, the trend is that cemeteries are not going to be a major part of our military honors anymore. You know, one of the things that I've been gone, I just arrived back on Saturday, so this is kind of overwhelming to me. But some of the comments I heard, I know we've been, the police department has been up to our facility and asked us not to do military honors there as far as the gun salute because of a traffic issue. You know, I've been arranging these services for 40 years. I don't know of one traffic accident due to military honors. I don't know, we have apartments, condos behind us. We have not had one complaint in 40 years. Where this comes from, I have no idea. This is just nonsense. We are going to become national news. this city will become national because of this issue. I beg you, I plead with you to change this amendment when it talks about firearms, to amend it to say military honors are allowed. It's the only fair thing to do to our veterans. You know, I've probably raised over 1,000 military honors, but every time I see these veterans, and as you can see, they're dressed. They're not in fatigues or anything that look like they're criminals or somebody out there hurt you. But every time I see those rifles, as they're lined up, you know, and they shoot the volleys, I don't look at those rifles as weapons, but they're symbols of gratitude, respect, and honor. And that's what it is. Nothing more. It's not a traffic problem. It's not a public safety a problem. We're honoring the people that gave their lives, that gave their time to their country. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you.
Steve Mayfield.
My name is Steve Mayfield. I live at 2023 Jackson Street in Beloit. A lot of my thunder has been stolen by previous speakers, but if you'll permit me to read a statement that I had made up, I'd appreciate it.
Sure.
As I stated, I'm Steve Mayfield. I'm the commander of the Joint VFW Marine Corps League Honor Guard. I am asking that the council create an exemption for military honor guards with regard to City Ordinance 1507, which is the firearms discharge ordinance. In the past year, the honor guard has fired at over 50 veterans' funerals throughout the city. Not all of them were at cemeteries. Just about half of them, in fact, were at city churches and funeral homes. Because of the rise in cremations, many of these veterans don't necessarily end up in cemeteries. The military funeral honors are generally performed as a part of the funeral service, which more and more are held at the funeral home or a church. We are asking that we continue to be allowed to perform this sacred ceremony in gratitude for a veteran's service and defense of this country, whether it be in a church, a funeral home, or a cemetery. This simple yet solemn ceremony also provides a kind of closure in the funeral process. Time and again, we are thanked by the families of the deceased, who often speak of their loved one's military service and how much they appreciate our efforts in honoring their deceased. I'd like you to please revisit this ordinance and allow for an exemption for military honor squads, be it the VFW, the Marine Corps League, the American Legion, or any other ceremonial military organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Major James E. Coots.
I'm Major James Coots, U.S. Army retired. I live at 2433 Skyline Drive in the city of Beloit. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I'm a son of 2 World War II veterans. I'm married to an Army veteran, and I have a son that served in Afghanistan and is now on active duty at Fort Knox, Kentucky. I'm here to, one, show my support and honor those veterans here and around the community that have served their country in uniform, and also particularly the honor guards that provide their time, go out of their way to provide full military honors as directed by the federal government. I had a handout that talks about military funeral honors, providing the three volley honors, and it dates. The history of these 3 volleys goes back centuries, but they certainly in our community, as mentioned earlier, this is an ongoing tradition, but it's also recognized by the federal government on that in the year 2000 implemented military funeral honors became a statutory benefit to all veterans that honorably served, both reserve and active duty. Also, the same year, May 9th of 2000, the governor of the state of Wisconsin signed a bill that directed the Wisconsin Department of Veteran Affairs to administer the Military Funerals Honors Program, which includes, on page 3 of the handout, full military honors, which includes at the request of the family, and when available, the department would arrange a firing detail of at least 3 individuals, in addition to the honors, other honors provided, which include a flag ceremony and representatives of active duty military and bugler, if available, to sound taps. I understand what the President of the Council said. You're not going to take any action tonight, but I would hope that there's no veteran that has a funeral or a memorial service in the next few days that's prohibited from having full military honors at their service. And I think it's up to the City Council, not one individual making an administrative action that prohibits this honor from being provided as it has been for decades in the state, in the city of Beloit. I remember back in 1971, I go back that far, that I was in high school here in the city of Beloit, and as a junior ROTC member, I was a member of a firing squad that fired a 21-gun salute at a Memorial Day activity in Horace White Park. I remember attending many parades where service club members fired salutes during the parade. The brass went flying and the kids ran after the brass. This did not cause any problems, and it's a time-honored tradition that we have. To impede these servicemen, veterans, from providing this honor to veterans who have passed away, their families. It's an important part of that funeral or memorial service, and it should not be impeded. Obviously, when the ordinance was enacted, it was not the intent to prohibit these activities, and it should not be so now. The firing of these 3 volleys is distinct. You're not going to mistake it for random shooting or mischief out in the public. It's 3 regulated firings all together, firing once, twice, and 3 times. And like Prisha said, if people don't understand what that is, then we're doing a poor job of educating them. And finally, I think it is the City Council's responsibility to act timely on this. Take your time in looking at revising the ordinance so it makes sense. But don't prohibit veterans that have passed away and their families from the honor that they're provided. They're supposed to be provided by state law, by federal guidelines, and by tradition here in the community of Beloit. Thank you.
Thank you, Major. First call for final speakers. Second call.
Bill Dorr, 836 Church. We went to Arlington Cemetery, and I never knew what 21-gun salute meant, but it was 1776. 1 plus 7 is 8, plus 7 is 15, and 6 is 21. And that's what they had told us at Arlington. So I was that made some history. So it goes back to 1776.
What kind of grade did you get in high school?
That's we won't go there. You know, you were my teacher.
I'm Sherry Blakely, and I live at 745 Milwaukee Road. I hadn't planned on speaking tonight, but I happened to watch the evening news, and then arriving and seeing all these folks in their military regalia and listening to what they had to say brought tears to my own eyes. Just 2 weeks ago, I had to attend the funeral of a friend who was a military veteran, and he was given the full military honors there. And it was very moving in a couple different ways. First of all, it made me jump. I wasn't used to being so close. The lady next to me jumped as well. We ended up standing with our arms around each other as we began to cry at how moving this ceremony was, and how especially gratifying it was for the widow of my friend and her grown-up children who were there to honor their father. So I think with enough communication from the city to the citizens of Beloit that we could carry on this long-standing tradition. So I'm speaking in favor of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Second call for anybody to speak. Go ahead.
My name is Kevin Christensen, 2705 Iowa Court. I've been on Iowa Court for 49 years. This apartment thing is wrong. You need to, like Bill Pickett says, you need to dash the road to Elmwood, because they have kids playing on parks, Scotty's. All the little kids are playing there. There's a bus there every morning to pick up the kids. Right now, that corner is bad, posting Iowa Court. People still go through, don't look. We got a bush there you can't see, so thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Step forward, please.
Hello, my name is Jordan McEntee, and I also wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but yesterday, the first Sunday of every month, by the way, is the VFW breakfast, and I was there and I was told about all these recent concerns, and while most of my generation is playing video games right now, I felt obliged that I had to come out and speak out about this because most of my generation isn't taught about these honors and what it even means. So much like the rest of my generation, I decided to Google the history of the 21 gun salute. And so it does go back to medieval times, and during the Revolutionary War, it was actually a 13-gun salute, one for each colony. And then after a while, it became a naval tradition because most ships had 7 guns, and it fired off 3 volleys of 7 guns. So it was actually a sign of peace and respect, and now it has become what it is today for honors, not just for our fallen veterans, but also for presidents too, because Lincoln spoke here over 150 years ago, and he received it as well. And so I would like to see, as not just a citizen and a supporter of the VFW, but just widespread support from the city, not just in this event, but in others as well, because I heard that recently there was an event shut down by the Beloit police, and it just disturbs me because I think, as I do, the Beloit City should be 150% behind the VFW in everything that they do. The only way to make Beloit better is to support good people, and these are good people. Their service does not stop with the military. They are in our hospitals. They are just generally good people, and I think it is one of the best things to spend my time with and to do to make Beloit better. Thank you.
Give us your address. Your address.
1150 Elm Street, Beloit.
Thank you. Third and final.
John Murphy, also of 2355 Cranston Road of Daly Murphy, Wish and Associates. Just to clarify some confusion in regards to this whole issue, and I know that you have spoken, the article has been written about the city ordinance, and I know it's been stated that a service has not been denied. And I think there's a communication break because I was involved with 2 other funeral directors at the initial onset of this, which took place shortly before the service was supposed to take place. The officers that were sent to the Emmanuel Baptist Church were nothing but professional, understanding, caring, and willing to assist. But there was an order not to go ahead and have that service on city. 4 residents out of the 20-some that I knocked on were to stop in our heart to say thank you to that soldier. To turn to our veterans who are doing those honors and shake their hand, thank them for their service. To turn to our men in blue, ladies in blue, who guard our streets and make us safe each and every day, to say thank you for your service, because they are sticking their lives in front of us for our protection. So as far as this being a safety and welfare issue, there's many, many solutions. Stopping traffic, knocking on doors, emailing, put ads in the paper. We're more than happy to put that notice in the paper. There's ways around this to satisfy, to give the last rites of respect to those soldiers who served for us. And I speak with passion tonight because it hits home, and I'm not even a veteran, but I'm a citizen of this country, and I'm a citizen of this community, and it's only the right thing to do. So again, I come before you to ask you to think about this, to put this onto an agenda, to have the amendment made to this particular ordinance that I firmly believe in my heart was never ever intended for this particular honor, and to go out and show the community. You know, it was just last week where Channel 15 had such an awesome display of how great the city of Beloit is, how we've rebuilt the city, downtown, across along the river, and how this is a place to move. And now we're talking about negativity to our veterans. And you can shake your head all you want that we haven't stopped this particular honor, but we have, because as you heard, 50% of these families are not requesting cemetery burial. And out of those 50% who choose to have it at a church or have it at a funeral home, don't want to travel down the street to have it at a park. You're missing the boat. It's part of the service. It's an important part of their life. So in closing, I would say think about those soldiers. Think about those families. Think about those empty shells, how important are to those family members that their loved ones served and how proud they are. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, John. Third and final call. Okay, that will close the public discussion, public comments. Consent agenda.
All items under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
Anybody like anything removed? Is there a motion to
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Moved by Leavy, seconded by Preschel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Ordinances.
7A is a proposed ordinance amending the zoning district map to change the zoning district classification from C1, Office District, to M1, Limited Manufacturing District, for the property located at 1895 Gateway Boulevard.
Just hold a second. I didn't want you to shout.
You want me to go ahead, or?
Thank you, Ms. Christensen. Go ahead, please.
Gateway Brewing Company LLC has applied for this rezoning. They haven't, actually, we've closed on the property. They bought the piece of property from the city. It's a 5.1 acre parcel. They're proposing a microbrewery use, which is why they've requested the M1 zoning. This will allow them greater long-term flexibility by allowing the production and distribution functions that are associated with the growing microbrewery. You had this on your agenda last time for a public hearing, and you held the first reading. This is on your agenda for action tonight.
Second reading, and it's final action.
Yep.
Is there a motion?
I'll move. Second.
Moved by Preschel, seconded by Leavy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Appointments, there are none. Councilor activities and upcoming events. Councilor Duncan.
Let's turn this on.
Push the button one time. There you go, you're on.
Okay, I'm on. Okay. I would just like to say congratulations to Emmanuel Baptist Church on their 100th anniversary celebration, and I would also like to acknowledge the veterans that were here tonight and thank them for their service. So it's truly appreciated. I kind of felt like you did, Sherry. You hit home for me. It was very personal because my husband is a veteran, my father was a veteran, my grandfather was a veteran, and my uncle was a veteran. So I want you to know that we hear you tonight, and as we move forward in visiting this ordinance, we will keep that in mind. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Councilor Preschel.
Again, thank you to all the veterans who showed up tonight and to their impassioned statements. I want you to know that we hear you and we understand, and we will fix this. And you can count on that going forward. And I'm really sorry it had to happen. Coming up on the agenda is Marching for Meals for the Meals on Wheels organization in Beloit. Big fundraiser. It's their key fundraiser for the year, and I know I'll be participating on the Mushing for Meals, and I know my best friend and one of my barber friend next door is taking a little money and turning it into the Meals on Wheels group for the whole month of March. And so there's a lot of things going on. Look at that really long agenda. I won't go into it. And that'll be all for now. It's a long meeting so far. Thank you.
Councilor Leavy.
Nothing.
I just want to comment how nice the BIF was for the 2-week run, and what a wonderful thing this is to bring people to Beloit and showcase Beloit again. We have so many good things in the city. We've repeated over and over, but it's just another thing. Plus, being on Wisconsin, on TV throughout the whole state of Wisconsin with John McGivern, is that his name? Who came to Beloit and showcased Beloit in a half an hour, finished with our city manager walking off with a cheer for Beloit, but that was seen by thousands of people. It was on public TV throughout the state, but what a boost he gave to our city of Beloit. For those who didn't see it, you can still see it on Facebook. Somebody, just, how do you access that?
It's on Milwaukee Public Television's website.
PBS. But it's on the if you have a teenager, they'll show you how to get it, but you can see it. But it's a wonderful ad of Beloit. He went around, he went to the barber shop, and one of our counselors was getting his beard shaved or his haircut. Looks more respectable today, but anyway, it's just a very nice ad for Beloit. Also, I was honored on Saturday night to give an award on behalf of the council to Rob Bowden, who finished 12 years directing the BIF in Beloit, and the post will be taken over by Beloit High School graduate Max Macon. So that's all I have. There's no city manager's presentation. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I don't have a presentation, but I don't frequently share during this forum. But I wanted to also let you know that the city of Beloit is featured in the March edition of the Milwaukee Magazine. John McGivern writes for them on occasion, and there's a feature piece on Beloit, and it's very favorable, very positive for the city. So just wanted to point that out as well.
Thank you. Reports from boards and city offices.
11A is a resolution approving an addendum number 2 to Cadillac Drive condominium plat for the property located at 2660 Cadillac Drive.
Ms. Christensen.
A little bit of history. In 2006, a planned unit development master land use plan was approved for this property, which allowed up to 48 units. That resolution is included in your staff report. In 2007, the developer initially obtained approval of a condominium plat for 36 units. The first 6-unit building was built before discontinuing the development during the recession. They found they couldn't sell the units, and then they began renting them in about 2010. In 2016, the applicant obtained approval of a condominium plat, which included, that went up to the 48 units. So it was 5 buildings in addition to the one that is there. It came before you because the layout had changed. It went from 36 units to the 48 allowed, so it came before you and was approved. The 2017 plat is changing the layout but leaving the number of units the same. It's an identical density of 5.3 units per acre, which is considered a single-family density. Our zoning ordinance defines single-family density as up to 5 for one district and up, so it's basically up to 7.25 units per acre. There is no change in the zoning. There would be 4 new buildings in this proposal versus 5 in the one that was approved in 2016. 1 fewer building in 17 results in greater percentage of site devoted to actual open space. And what would change with this is also that front building would kind of mirror the front building that's already there, so it would be similar. There was some copies on the cart, and it was also handed out to council, which kind of just shows the change, so that you can see what the differences are in the actual layout. So the number of units don't change from 16 to 17. It's really just the layout that's being proposed. And they basically have the 4 proposed buildings. 1 is a 6-unit, 1-story building similar to the existing building. 3 are 12-unit, 2-story buildings for the total of 42 units, with the addition also included on site would be a mailroom building, office maintenance building, and visitor parking stalls. This was reviewed by the city's review agents. The Water Resources Director just noted that the existing water and sewer mains that are looped through the development are public mains, which are according to a 2014 agreement with the property owner. Plan Commission did review this and recommended approval, subject to the 2 conditions which are listed in the resolution, which is that the assessor's office shall assign all unit numbers before the plat may be recorded, and that the applicant shall record the plat before the end of the year.
Ms. Christensen, just to clarify, this was approved by a prior council, so there's nothing that, they've got the approval already, but we've actually, probably the good news is for Mr. Pickett and Ellen is it's gone, and others, it's going down in numbers. 1 less building right now.
Yeah, 1 less building would be what the proposal includes, in comparison to last year's approval.
There's no way, so because it's already been approved, they've got approval to go ahead.
Yeah,
but we're decreasing it right now.
Yeah,
so by voting on this, we'll decrease it.
Yeah, they have approval for 48 units. What you're increasing is the open space on site.
So there'll be more open space.
More open space on site.
And 1 less building.
So because of 1 less building, yes.
Okay.
The density stays the same. The number of units stays the same from the approval from 16.
Comments from the council? Mr. Leavy.
Just, I was one of the ones that asked to lay it over, and one of the reasons I did that is because I wanted to do a little bit more research, and so I thank staff for getting with me and reminding me that a year ago, I believe that it was stated that, okay, these would be rental properties. So one of the things that that's one of the reasons I wanted to lay it over, sir, that when I heard that, after years, kind of get your mind right and say, okay, I've heard something about this before, but I want to make sure that I was accurate, because what I like to do is before I make any decision, that I make sure I fully understand and I'm clear. So I appreciate you for coming back. I appreciate the residents also for being here, but I want to make sure that I understood the full picture here, and then also spend some time out there over the last week and so, and just kind of monitor and see what was going on. So when I sit here and talk and make decisions, I'm informed and can remember exactly what we talked about. So I thank everyone for laying it over to allow me to do that. So
thank you. Councilor Preschel.
To be clear, last year when we looked at this development, it was mentioned these would be rentals. At that time, there was no attempt, and he's been totally honest about that from the get-go, the developer has. And just to be clear on that, because anyway, it just seems to be kind of odd that people don't remember that. But anyway, I'm concerned about Cadillac. I said that last time. I don't think there's much we can do as a body to change whether it's going to be rental or owner-occupied or whatever. We basically approved this development a long time ago, and we've repeatedly amended it. So there's not much we can do about that part of it at this point in time. And I don't know how I have an understanding of how these roads get built, usually at the cost of developers or a TIF or something involved. So all I would say is I'd like to see Cadillac get put through. I'm sorry I scared somebody about the post road. I just remember, again, I have a good memory for these things, and I remember what an uproar it was last time that came up about extending it into the end of the Robinson Circle. And that caused quite an uproar back about, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, whenever they first come up. Anyway, my point is whatever we can do to expedite Cadillac's build, we should be doing that. And I know we have limited resources, but we should put something into that effort and see what we can do now.
And, I mean, it's been 10 years that Jack Myers first came forward and brought forward the idea of doing something on the north end, right on Elmwood, to extend Cadillac through. We originally had it zoned R1A, and this is the piece that sits on Elmwood, and then up-zoned it to R2 to allow duplexes, and he has said he can't make the duplexes work, and so he came forward before this body probably 1 or 2 years ago to ask for R3, which you guys were uncomfortable with doing more multifamily there. And so he hasn't been able to sell his land, and as a result, he hasn't built the street through. I mean, that's kind of what it comes down to. And he is going to be 95 years old in May. And he talks to his city staff frequently. But he hasn't, and he's got a for sale sign on the property right now, and I think he would like nothing more than to sell the land. But he just hasn't been able to get a developer, to kind of kick that street the rest of the way through and build it. And he does have a plan for how that could be laid out. But until he sells that land to a developer, I mean, we just don't have a mechanism to kind of force that dedication.
And I too,
that I know of anyway.
Thank you. I too have been going back to those apartments in that Cadillac area for years, and I've been pushing for the years I've been on the council for that road. So I just am hoping that can be extended to Henderson. The people who live back in there would really appreciate that now, because when you go back there, you're zigzagging until you get there, unless you take that road by the hospital. And anyway. Well,
and even, I mean, that neighborhood was not set up, with through streets, which a lot of, when you get away from the Merrill neighborhood, the east side is like that.
Right.
So there is, I went through there on Saturday or Sunday this weekend, I went to Shopko, so I just kind of drove through there. And I drove through there in early morning, so there wasn't a lot of activity. But it is, I mean, when you drive through there, there's only so many ways in and out. Right. And you can come on a West Hart. If you come Iva or any other way, you're really still coming through West Hart to get around there. And so, I mean, Cadillac, I mean, the plan is long-term for that street to go through. It's on a preliminary plat that was approved. But because he hasn't been able to sell that land, because he's almost 95 years old, he doesn't plan to do it himself. When that develops, then that road would be required to go through.
And the residents would appreciate that greatly. Is there a motion?
Can I make another comment? I just wanted to thank the person who gave us the handout, because, if you're looking at connecting to a lane down there, having 4 rental properties in that vicinity, that does help, make it maybe more feasible. I don't know. There's more rental down there than I realized, and that's something to be looked at again, maybe revisit that. But I think, I don't know. It's just, I am concerned about the traffic in there, and it's not a good place to have lots of buildings based on the traffic ways. Thank you. You need to.
This is unusual, but go ahead. Please.
Yeah, so.
Just give your name again, Ellen.
I just wanted to make sure that you remembered what I said was Mr. Myers told me that he was all in favor of the road going through. The developer said he was more than willing to put that road through. So to me, there should be no reason that that road can't go through. If that developer wanted to put that road through, and that's what his exact words were, I quoted him, and Mr. Myers says, go for it, put that road through. He has no problem with that. So I would like to have that.
If I can interrupt, the action of the body this evening is focused on this particular site layout. There is not an existing requirement for that road extension that was incorporated in the 2016 approval, nor in the prior PUD. So I just don't want to derail the conversation too much, because we really don't have a mechanism within which to address that issue this evening.
We have taken your comments down, Ellen, and
okay.
It'll be forwarded.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
As was mentioned at the previous meeting, we don't own the right-of-way to do that yet. There's been nothing happened there, so nothing.
Okay, is there a motion on the resolution?
Move approval.
Moved approved by Leavy. Second? Seconded by Preschel. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. 11B will be held over due to the Councilor Duncan needing to recuse herself. There is no quorum for this item, therefore it's postponed till the next meeting. So 11C.
Is a resolution waiving right of first refusal for 1 Reynolds Drive.
Attorney Krieger.
Thank you. The city was approached about a potential sale of 1 Reynolds Drive from the current owner, 1 Reynolds Drive, LLC, and they are in the process of transferring that property. We've had a few of these in the recent months, and the council is familiar with the restrictive covenants that are on that, the properties in that area, and one of the right of first refusal we need to waive in order to allow that transfer of the property. So I've drawn up the paperwork for you. It's been approved by their attorney. So at this time I would just ask that you approve the resolution authorizing the city manager to sign that waiver and release.
Is there a motion for
Move approval.
Moved by Leavy, seconded by Duncan. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Move.
Moved by Preschel, seconded by Leavy. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned 4-0.